Caleb was absolutely frantic. He insisted Monica help him get one too. Monica agreed, telling him to have the money ready in 3 days, then they would go process the paperwork. The trap was set, waiting for the fish to bite. A day after having dinner with Grace's parents, I told her that Alex's project would be delayed by a month. To save on interest, I suggested we postpone taking out the loan. I also told her to hold on to the money her parents gave her, earning interest on it for a month wouldn't hurt. That money, I had intended it for Caleb from the start. Then, having accomplished my goal, I made an excuse about needing to go on another business trip for a few days, leaving the rest to Caleb's performance. Only this time, their performance had an extra audience member. I had secretly installed 2 cameras in my house. I figured installing cameras in my own home couldn't be illegal. Sure enough, as soon as I left, Caleb walked into my house that very evening. They seemed not to have seen each other in a while, and the moment they were inside, they passionately embraced, like dry kindling catching fire. But before long, Grace suddenly pushed Caleb away and asked if he was seeing someone else. Behind the screen, I almost burst out laughing. Here she was, cheating herself, asking her lover if he was cheating. The role reversal was shockingly seamless. Caleb, flustered and guilty, quickly explained to Grace that he had endured the humiliation of getting close to Monica purely for their future. According to him, Monica was just a wealthy older woman, who coveted his handsome young face, but he insisted he had never crossed the line. He claimed he only temporarily neglected Grace to make money. He said he had gone to great lengths to finally convince Monica to include him in a big deal. For our better future, he claimed he had taken out a payday loan for $300,000, and now needed another $300,000 to cover the shortfall, asking Grace to lend it to him for a temporary turnaround. Though was a hopeless romantic, she wasn't an idiot, of course, she wouldn't agree immediately. Then began his performance, reminiscing about the past, then envisioning the future. When he got emotional, he could even squeeze out a few tears, which honestly made me admire him a little. Finally, Caleb pulled out his transaction records, showing Monica's large money transfers to him, which left Grace utterly bewildered. Grace finally began to waver, saying she happened to have $300,000 in spare cash, but she would need it in a month, asking Caleb if he could repay her in time. Caleb nodded vigorously, claiming this was a heaven-sent opportunity that they absolutely couldn't miss. His vows poured out like a barrage, and he was practically ready to kneel and seal their pact with a blood oath. Grace finally transferred the money to Caleb, and the two happily proceeded with their second-half celebration. From my hotel room, watching their money-lending spectacle unfold on my computer screen, I finally felt at ease. As for what happened next, it wasn't anything I hadn't seen my wife do before, so I'd leave it for her to slowly savor later. The next day, Monica took Caleb to the sales again. Caleb handed over the money and signed the contract. The entire elaborate trap was finally ready for its payoff. A couple of days later, when I returned home, Grace seemed unusually attentive. I wondered if it was because she felt uneasy about lending out the $300,000. I gave her some not-so-good news. Alex's project might be delayed again. But to compensate her, I suggested, how about this? Let's go ahead and pay off the mortgage, and add your name to the property deed first, to avoid any complications later. The expression on Grace's face was priceless. She hemmed and hawed for a while, saying there was no rush and a delay was fine. She had put the money into a 7-day fixed deposit, and wanted to wait until that matured before doing anything. Then informed me that Caleb was pressuring her to sell it quickly, even if it meant selling it cheaply. He wanted to get a taste of success with his first deal. I transferred $20,000 to Monica, telling her that was enough, and to finish the last arrangements and then wrap things up. To my surprise, Monica returned the money. She said her commission from this deal was $200,000, and she would only take what she deserved, even thanking me for referring a client to her. Monica strung Caleb along for a few days. With the 7-day mark approaching, Grace was pressing Caleb urgently, and he was starting to get cold feet. He asked Monica to help him offload it quickly. Monica said that clients were scarce these days, and if he was truly desperate, she could help him out herself. But for the details, she suggested they meet in a hotel room to discuss it thoroughly. Caleb, thinking good fortune came in twos, eagerly went and booked a room, waiting for Monica. When walked in wearing a slip dress, Caleb was instantly flustered. Monica said she was also really tight on cash lately, and would need some more time. She then told Caleb that if he truly felt she owed him, he could name his price. Caleb had been waiting for this day for who knows how long. After some playful banter, Caleb went to take a shower. Of course, before that, I had already sent Caleb's room number to Grace from an unknown number. Her texts and calls to him went unanswered, and she rushed to the hotel in a rage. Alex and I hid in the lobby, observing. Monica timed it perfectly so that when Grace walked in, she would see Caleb sitting on the bed, wrapped in a towel. It was an absolute disaster. Grace was already furious and anxious, and seeing Monica, she felt completely inferior, like an ugly duckling. She then unleashed all her anger on Caleb. Caleb, his good fortune ruined by Grace, was also seething. Moreover, having been with Monica, he now saw Grace as utterly beneath him. Since there was no explaining it, he decided to just let everything fall apart. Monica was on a completely different level than them. With a few words, she easily made her exit, walking away without a scratch, leaving the two of them to physically fight in the room. That night, Grace told me her parents had something come up, and she wouldn't be coming home. I rushed to father-in-law George's place that night, just to see her downtrodden expression. Seeing the bruises on her face, I excitedly asked her what had happened. Seeing how concerned I was, she finally couldn't hold back her tears, and said she had accidentally fallen and hadn't come home because she was worried I'd be concerned. I barely managed to keep a straight face. After a long time consoling her, just before taking her home, I casually said, "Don't be sad, honey. Once those 7 days are up for your 300,000, we'll go and change the name on the property, and that should cheer you up." The expression on Grace's face was truly uglier than if she'd eaten dirt. Her father asked what was going on, and I quickly answered for her. But her father immediately sensed something was off. Sure enough, a father knows his daughter best. He pulled her into the room to question her. Her mother told me to go home first, saying Grace was upset and they would stay with her. As I left, I heard a loud smack from the room. The next evening, Grace returned, but even heavy makeup couldn't conceal the swelling on her face. She looked haggard, yet she desperately tried to force a smile for me, acting many times more attentive than usual. I asked her what was wrong. "Did you have a fight with your family yesterday? And that money is almost due, right? When are we going to the bank?" Every question was a stab to her heart, but she could only swallow her pain, and make up all sorts of excuses to fob me off. This went on for over half a month. When I saw her sighing and growing more depressed each day, I figured it was enough, it was time to put her out of her misery. I told her Alex's project was settled, and to get the money ready in the next couple of days, so we could go process the loan. Don't delay such an important matter. Seeing she couldn't hide it any longer, she finally confessed the truth. She had lent the money to a friend and couldn't get it back. I feigned shock and asked her which friend it was. She stammered and stuttered before finally uttering Caleb's name. I told her, "Don't be afraid. Tomorrow, I'll go with you to his school to find him. He absolutely has to give us an explanation." That night, I heard her tossing and turning, unable to sleep. Perhaps she knew that tomorrow would be a major hurdle in her life. The next day, Grace and I stormed into Caleb's school, and demanded he return the money. At first, he feigned ignorance, asking us for a few more days' grace. I turned to Grace and asked, "What do you think?" Grace was put on the spot, unable to decide. Her face flushed crimson. Probably recalling her final break with Caleb, she finally roared, "No. Today, you will, give us an explanation, or I'll make sure everyone in your school knows about it." Cornered, Caleb finally confessed that not only could he not sell the apartment he bought, but the developer had also run off, leaving the project abandoned and all his money down the drain. And the property payment wasn't just 600,000, it was 2 million. Now, in addition to our money and the payday loan, he had to pay off the remaining 1.4 million mortgage to the bank every month. He was already at his wit's end, and if we pushed him further, he would have no choice but to fight us to the bitter end. Grace was completely stunned. She grabbed his collar and shook him violently. Caleb's emotions exploded. He cursed, yelling about what kind of Miller I had introduced him to, claiming Miller was a complete scammer. I said I only introduced him to running, I didn't tell him to do anything else. If you think she's a scammer, why don't you report her to the police? Caleb was speechless. I knew he had actually gone to Monica a long time ago, but had frankly told him she was just a broker, that all his transactions were with the developer and the money was collected by the developer. It had nothing to do with her, she said, telling him to go to the police himself. Caleb accused her of fraud. Monica laughed. The shills at the sales were hired by the developer. You signed the contract voluntarily. Check your WhatsApp messages. Did I ever say anything to trick you into buying the apartment? Apparently, Caleb really did go to the police later, but the only evidence he provided was his own sycophantic words. Monica hadn't said anything incriminating, and not a single cent of the property payment had passed through Monica. So, Monica was merely a legitimate sales agent. As for other issues, he would have to find the developer who had run off. Caleb recalled these painful memories again, finally turning his anger towards me. It's all you. All you. You are the one who ruined everything. I'm not giving you your money back, so what? Come and get me. The more he spoke, the more agitated he became. Grace realized it was too late to stop him. Let me tell you, Ethan, don't get smug. Your wife has been mine for ages. You've been cuckolded. Is there a single spot in your house where I haven't slept with your wife? I'm telling you, I'm tired of her, so I'm giving her back to you. What an absolute godsend. He saved me so much trouble. I secretly applauded him in my mind. Looking at Grace again, her eyes were so wide they looked like they would bleed. She kept telling me not to listen to him while simultaneously physically attacking him, and the two started fighting again. I feigned shock, turned around, and walked away. Grace chased after me, but I got into my car, shut the door, and floored the accelerator. One swift, seamless motion, my deeds hidden from view. I was at Alex's place. We leisurely smoked cigarettes, while my phone kept buzzing with messages and calls, before it soon ran out of battery and shut off. That night, when I turned it back on, my phone lagged for a full 2 minutes before finally responding. I couldn't even be bothered to look at the messages that popped up. Just then, Grace's father-in-law George called me. I answered. He said not to listen to that jerk, that it was all lies meant to deceive me. I replied that I had asked Grace's old classmates, and it was true that she and Caleb had been old flames. Her father was speechless, then suddenly exploded. Gracie says she's going to kill herself. If my daughter dies, I'll never let you off the hook. I struggled to keep from laughing. It was the last shred of my self-control. Dad, are you losing your mind? Your daughter's money was stolen by Caleb, she slept with Caleb, and I'm the one who was cuckolded. She wants to kill herself, and you are blaming me for it. Even the police wouldn't rule that way. Her father was silent for a moment. Everyone makes mistakes. You're a generous man, forgive her this once, and we'll make sure she treats you well from now on. At worst, you can cheat on her once too, and I'll tell her, that makes us even. I hung up immediately. With parents who had such values, it was no wonder they raised a daughter like her. My phone kept ringing off and on all night, finally quieting down. The next morning, I received a message from Grace, let's get a divorce. I replied, okay. She sent me a divorce agreement, but I saw that her demands were outrageous. The house split evenly, the $300,000 debt to her father also split evenly, with only the car entirely mine as compensation. This woman, even now, was still dreaming of impossible things. I refused, demanding a contested divorce. In court, I directly presented the evidence of her affair with Caleb. The court ruled that the house and car would both be mine. As for the money she borrowed from her father, that was their private matter and had nothing to do with me. Grace finally realized that I had set her up from the very beginning. Her entire family continuously cursed at me, with the most vicious words, until the judge couldn't take it anymore, and warned them that if they continued to disrupt court proceedings, they would be held in contempt. As I walked out of the courtroom, Alex and Monica were waiting outside for me. It wasn't that Monica and I were getting together, but rather that she had handled things so perfectly, I couldn't help but invite her to dinner, to thank her. Afterward, I asked Monica if she was worried about Caleb seeking revenge. Monica scoffed. With a loser like him, you could hand him a knife and he wouldn't dare to stab himself. I didn't know if Grace would get back together with Caleb. But when it comes to two of a kind, who knows? After all, Caleb did spend $2 million on an apartment, and who knows, maybe someday it will actually resume construction and be delivered. I pulled out my cigarettes and offered one to Alex. Alex asked me, "When did you switch to Marlboro?" I smiled. "Today's a good day. To mark it, I suppose I won't be smoking Marlboro anymore after this."